Hello, I'm Mary Millard. How many of you have great, tasty, and hearty recipes that you love, but you've hidden them away because they're just not made for the healthy you? Well, the LeCom Healthy Living Kitchen is all about healthy cooking done tastefully. So for today's show, we're going to talk about healthy substitutions in your meals, like replacing lean chicken for ground beef or skim milk in place of whole milk. Today, we're going to make chicken apple pumpkin ale chili and a porter honey glazed cod. Both of these recipes are made with beer to give it an extra kick of wonderful flavor and character. So to start the show, we'll be visiting Lavery Brewery in beautiful Erie, Pennsylvania, to talk about their pumpkin ale and porter, which we'll use later in the show. We'll also invite Nikki Lavery as a guest on the show. Let's get cooking. Hi, I am with Jason Lavery from Lavery Brewing Company here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and Jason's going to tell us a little bit about the ale-making business, beer-making business. Jason, we're going to cook with a couple of your beers, and when you cook with beer, typically you burn off the alcohol content. But what I think is so great about Lavery ales is there's so much depth of flavor in them that I think it'll really add to whatever we're cooking. So we're going to do some great recipes in the kitchen. Jason, so tell me a little bit about how you got into making beer.
Well, the whole history of how the brewery started was in 2004. We went to my brother-in-law's wedding in Michigan, and he started home brewing a couple months before that, so he introduced me to the process.
Nice.
Became a passionate, avid home brewer. In 2008, I had just recently graduated from graduate school, and me and my wife were actually looking for a job in Ireland. She had a job interview in Limerick, Ireland. All the while, I was looking for a job with my degree.
What was your degree? Just
Master's of Communications.
Okay.
Looking for a job, couldn't find a job, brewing every weekend, kind of perfecting my recipes. On the same day that she found out she didn't get the job in Ireland, I had won an award for our Belfast Black Smoke Porter.
Fantastic.
And we said, you know, if we can move us and our 3 kids to Ireland, we can start a brewery. So that was February 2009, and we decided to make a go of it. So I attended small business classes that summer, did an apprenticeship at the local brew pub, the Brew Erie, with Gary Burley, their head brewer.
Great.
And then finally in August 2009, we founded the company and got our license in February 2010.
Beautiful, congratulations. Now I have to ask you, we have these dreams of like, this is what I want to do. Has it been exactly what you thought it would be? Have there been bumps in the road? Has it just been pure bliss?
Yeah, well, I would say it's been pure bliss.
Awesome.
You know, I mean, there's definitely been bumps in the road,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like working for yourself and believing in a product so much that we do, and you just put so much energy and passion and devotion into it. So brewing is a real mix of art and science.
Absolutely.
So that works really well for our particular group of brewers here, me and my business partner and my wife. Blending the art of the stories and the recipe formulation, and then also getting into the science background and perfecting our processes.
Beautiful. So you guys are more like a seasonal brewer, and you only brew ales, is that right?
Yeah, we only brew ales. The difference between an ale and a lager is ales ferment at room temperature, anywhere from 65 to 70 degrees, and
Yes.
lagers tend to ferment colder, around 45 to 50 degrees. Lagers also require more time in the tanks, which we're not fortunate enough to have.
Okay.
Millions of tanks to age, you know, millions of gallons of beer in. So ales tend to be able to be brewed faster and released faster than lagers.
Okay, and do you think as the company grows, you'll stick with ales, or you may move into lagers, or?
Yeah, we're definitely an ale brewery because ales tend to have more character. You know,
Okay.
lagers tend to be more, balanced and sessionable, which is not a bad thing whatsoever. But a lot of ales, you know, like IPAs are ales, stouts are ales, porters are ales,
Okay.
pumpkin ales are ales.
Okay, which is what I'm having right
and
now.
And lagers are more not bland, but they can be, you know. But we do definitely enjoy lagers ourselves personally, but we're not really interested in brewing them.
So tell me a little bit about the beer making process. For those of you out there that have never home brewed and you might just open a nice cold frosty on a Friday night, what's the process?
The process starts with barley. A maltster will take seeds of barley and soak them in water.
Okay.
And soaking in the water starts the germination process where the baby barley seed thinks it wants to start growing a sprout. And at that point, the maltster roasts the barley to stop that germination process. So all those starches are kind of beginning to be unlocked.
Okay.
So then the brewer crushes that barley, soaks it in hot water. There's enzymes on the husk of the barley that convert the starches into sugar. and then we run that, filter that sugary water to a kettle, add hops, chill it down, send it to a fermenter and add yeast, and then the yeast eat the sugar and turn it into alcohol and CO2.
Okay.
That's a synapsis. Brewers really just make sugar
Did
water.
you guys get that? Okay. And so what part of the process is this behind us?
These are our fermentation tanks.
Okay.
They hold 310 gallons.
Okay, beautiful. Excellent. So what's the history of beer? How old is beer? I think I know the answer.
Yeah,
but come
beer's
on,
about
you tell me.
9,000 years old.
Okay.
It was from Monterey, Iran.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the oldest fermented beverages, actually.
Okay.
They found that if they soggy loaves of bread got wet, they would start fermenting. So that was the whole.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So maybe you'll take us a little bit around your brewery here and show us a little bit?
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Welcome to Lecom Healthy Living Kitchen, and today we have a special guest in our kitchen. We have Nikki Lavery from Lavery Brewing Company in Erie, Pennsylvania, and we're going to do a couple recipes today using their delicious ale. So, Nikki, thank you so much. Today, you sent me the recipe for pumpkin ale, chicken apple chili, and I'm really excited. I guess I kind of grew up using chili with ground beef or chunks of beef, and we're trying to lighten it up today and incorporate great local products. What's the first thing we're going to do today?
Well, we're going to cut up the chicken.
Great.
And then we're going to add it to some olive oil and cook it with some salt and pepper.
Great. And about how big of pieces do you want to cut this in?
Just about an inch cubes, half-inch cubes maybe.
Okay, beautiful. And this is boneless, skinless chicken breast?
Yes.
And do you ever use...
You can use cutlets.
Chicken thighs or...
I haven't used chicken thighs,
Okay.
but you can use cutlets or any kind of
My kids
chicken.
are like big time fans of chicken thighs, and if you're going to use chicken thighs, they're a little fattier, it's a darker meat, it's really delicious, has I think a little more flavor than breast, but you do want to trim off the excess fat around the edges. Trim off the excess fat, that's always the challenge, isn't it?
I agree.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some olive oil in our pot. Nikki's just about done chopping that up. I think it's just maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil or so.
Yeah, just a couple swirls around the pot.
With the miracle of television, we have some chicken right here that we're going to dump right in. So why don't you go ahead and throw that in. Great. Nice, and that's about, I think about 2 pounds of chicken.
Yes.
I'll take that from you, Nikki. And why don't you give that a stir, and what happens next?
We add a little bit of salt and pepper just to season the chicken. I think the salt and pepper.
Oh, thank you. No, it's right over there.
Oh, there it is.
Great. So we're just using kosher salt, black pepper, beautiful. I'll give this a stir, and what happens next?
Well, once we cook the chicken up, we're going to take it out of the pot and we're going to put it in a bowl to the side. And then we're going to cut up apples and onions.
So it's about 1 onion?
Yeah, I add about 1 onion to the recipe. Just cutting up, chopping.
Okay, good. So Nikki, you are a full-time chili maker?
Yeah, no.
So tell me what you do.
I'm actually a pediatric occupational therapist at Shriners Hospital here in Erie.
Nice, fantastic.
So I work with kids all day.
Beautiful. And you and your husband, Jason, who we met, I think our viewers will have met Jason earlier. Jason, and then another partner, Jason. Two Jasons.
Very easy.
And and did you know that you were going to get into the brewing business when you met Jason?
No, absolutely not. He actually didn't even drink good beer when I met Jason. So.
I love it. That's good. Once this chicken is cooked, and it takes probably about 5 to 7 minutes, it's not quite there. I'm turning up the heat a little bit to a medium high. We have the onions ready to go, and we're just using Granny Smith apple. You could really probably use any apple you have on hand, but this is a nice, crisp, kind of tart apple. Tell me about the pumpkin ale. It is so good. Now, I know you guys do seasonal beers. So the pumpkin ale is just out now. It's fall here in Pennsylvania. Today was a perfect fall day, by the way.
It was a perfect fall day.
And so how'd you guys come up with this pumpkin ale?
Well, we've been refining it since the beginning. It was actually the first beer that we brewed.
Okay.
So it was just really by choice of the spices that we chose, and we kind of wanted to make it a beer instead of a pumpkin pie, drinking pumpkin pie.
Yes.
So it's actually
not
not
too
too
have
heavily
some of those
spiced.
spices in it.
We do add all those spices into it, but not as much or as many as other maybe pumpkin ales do.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and take out the cooked chicken breast. And it's not really browned. You could brown it, but I think it's fine once it gets in there with all the other ingredients. And when did you first make this recipe? Like, what inspired you to, I guess probably the pumpkin ale inspired you.
Well, it did. I really like to cook with beer, and I love chili. It's one of my favorite fall recipes. So
Nice, nice.
I found this recipe and just kind of added beer instead of the chicken broth, and it really kind of just spiced it up nicely.
Great, great. Now there is kind of liquid just from the oil and a little bit of liquid from the chicken. Can we go ahead and throw
we
in
can dump it in. It'll
So we're
be
throwing
just
in the
fine.
onions and the apples at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna, excuse me for reaching in front of you. I'm gonna put that down here and we'll get those. Great. Nice.
Probably could use that scooper. Lots of apples.
And these are just like half-inch pieces. And are we gonna cook this until it's they're tender?
About 6
or
minutes, just
about
until
6
they're
minutes?
soft.
Great. So it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, and the apples and the onions smell great. They're a little bit browned. I'm going to just take them out of this pot, exchange it for, I turn down the heat a little bit. There's nice browned bits of apple and onion and probably a little bit of residue from the chicken on the bottom of the pan.
Yes.
Nice. It smells so good.
It does smell really good.
My gosh. Nikki, why don't you go ahead and throw in the butter, and we'll get that melting.
All right.
Great. So now there's about 4 tablespoons of butter, and you know, butter definitely adds flavor. It also adds saturated fat. So have you ever tried it with anything else?
You could probably use canola oil
Something like that?
instead of the butter, or cut the butter in half so that
Okay.
it's not as much.
That's a good idea. Maybe just even starting with going down to 2 tablespoons of butter from the 4 tablespoons. So it
all
is melted.
All right, we're gonna whisk in the flour.
Yes, and so we're just making a roux here, R-O-U-X, and which is a thickening agent for sauces, soups, all sorts of things. And when you make a roux, you want to, you know, melt the fat first, and then you want to go ahead and add the flour, and you want to cook it for a couple minutes. Otherwise, it's going to taste starchy.
Yeah. The heat also breaks up the flour chunks.
Exactly. Okay, so I can see it's thick.
All right, so we're gonna add the pumpkin ale.
Okay.
I know.
Goodbye, pumpkin ale.
Sorry. And for all those that are under 21, that shouldn't be drinking pumpkin ale, the alcohol will evaporate once you cook it.
Yes, anytime you're cooking generally, anytime you're cooking with alcohol, the heat evaporates the alcohol in it. So we're gonna go ahead and turn that up a little bit. You're gonna start to see this thicken. So we have the heat up on about medium high, and the alcohol is burning off. It's starting to foam a little bit. You want to make sure you have it in a big enough pan to put all your ingredients back in. Chicken, the apples, the onions, and this smells very good too. So this is just coming to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to go ahead and slowly add the
milk.
Yes, you got it, girl.
I remembered. And then we're gonna add the spices.
Right, and what spices are we using today?
We're using 4 teaspoons of chili powder and 2 teaspoons of cumin. But
Great.
you can always give and take depending on your taste.
Great. Why don't we go ahead and add the spices first?
All right. So this is the chili powder. And this is the cumin.
Love it. Pretty traditional chili spices. Good. So that made, I don't know if you can see the base for this chili, but it's made it a little bit darker brown. I'm going to turn the heat down just slightly. And why don't you go ahead and add that milk?
And you can use low-fat milk to make it a little bit less
Yes.
fattening.
Now that is a really nice little sauce for this.
That looks delicious.
It does look good. And then we're going to have all these juices from the chicken that are in the bowl here, and the apples and the onions, and we're going to, I think, put everything back in here.
Yes.
So why don't you go ahead and let me find you a spoon to put those in.
Thank you.
And
Oh,
that's all right.
Dumping chicken.
There you go. Nice. So at this point, I would probably say, go drink the last 6 ounces of your pumpkin ale. And
there will be some left.
Wait for 15 minutes. And what would be nice to serve with this? Now we have garnish. We have some tortilla chips that you baked off earlier, and we have some low-fat Monterey Jack cheese, and I think some scallions, which is great. Do you serve anything else with this?
You could use like a low-fat sour cream.
So Nikki, we're going to put some beans in too. And what kind of beans do you typically use?
You can use any white bean, cannellini beans, or you can even use kidney beans if you like. Really, any bean of your choice.
So these are just white beans here. Put those in, and you're going to take them out of the can, and you're going to strain them and rinse them. So we got those. And at this point, we're going to let the chicken kind of meld together for about 15 or 20 minutes. And the crew here is looking kind of hungry. All right, so I guess if I was home at this point, I would turn it down, kind of medium-low.
Yeah, let it simmer a little
and
bit.
let it simmer. And oh my gosh, 15 minutes has passed by. It's amazing. So we're going to plate some of this up, show everybody what it looks like when it's all garnished.
Sounds good.
Okay? And we're going to put it in the pretty white bowls tonight. And I think this serves, I think the recipe said it serves either 6 or 8.
Yeah, I want to say.
And the recipes, just as a reminder, are on the website, which is cookhealthytoday.com. So all these are up there. They've been tested and retested. Okay, let's get it in there. Oh, son of a goose day. Okay, let's see. And wipe off the plate a little bit. Go ahead and start it with the cheese.
Scallions
Oh,
are
the
over there, too.
scallions. Thank you. Delish. So maybe scallions on top. We have some nice low-fat Monterey Jack cheese. And then a little bit earlier, Nikki went ahead and baked off some whole wheat tortilla chips and put those right on top. That is beautiful, really nice. Thank you so much. I can't wait to sit down and enjoy a bowl myself.
Great, thanks for having me.
Okay, Nikki, thank you. So I am excited to try this recipe. I was looking for recipes to cook with Lavery's ale. And actually, when I think of cooking with beer myself, it's usually for like a shoulder of pork, to braised pork, something like maybe higher fat cuts of meat. So I thought, I came up with this idea, and what I'm gonna do is reduce some of their Lavery's smoked porter black ale. You could also use a stout. Many of you are familiar with Guinness, but this is a really nice porter. And what I'm gonna do is, what I did first was just pour it into a pitcher because it really gets a head on it, a lot of foam. So I poured it in a pitcher ahead of time, and I'm putting it into my pan. And I'm gonna add about a half a cup of honey. I'm excited, this is a local honey. The apiary or apiary on Wolf. So I'm gonna put about a half a cup of honey in here. And I'm gonna bring it to a boil, and I'm gonna reduce it till it's down to about 2 cups. So this is a porter glazed fish fillet with glazed carrots. And I'm using cod here, but I've tried this at home. I've used haddock, which is delicious, but it is not the most inexpensive fish. So I thought I would try it with, and I tried it with mahi-mahi, which was delicious. That was kind of a mid-range priced fish. But I thought today I'd try it with cod. So I'm turning the porter, and the honey. I'm going to turn it on high, and you really need to stay close at first because it will boil over like it did earlier today when I was kind of prepping this. And don't go in the kitchen or go out of the kitchen and do something, play backgammon with your kids, because you could just reduce it down to a burnt glaze, which I did a couple weeks ago when I tested this recipe. So I'm gonna stay close by, and we're just gonna reduce it down to 2 cups. In the meantime, I'm going to cook some baby carrots. Actually, I think I have matchstick carrots today. So I am bringing a pot of water to a boil, miraculously to a boil. I'm going to salt it. You don't need the salt. If you're trying to cut back on salt for health reasons, you do not need the salt. The carrots are nice and sweet. And I'm gonna go ahead, and you can use baby carrots. You can julienne carrots, which is basically cutting them into matchsticks, kind of the size of French fries. Or today we have some real small matchsticks. And excuse me for reaching, but I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the water just to garnish our fish tonight. And you're gonna bring it to a boil, and when they're tender, this is only gonna take about 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to go ahead and drain them in a colander. So we're just waiting for those to come back to a boil. Just to give you an idea what's happening here. So we're gonna take the cod, and once this is reduced, the porter and the honey, once it's reduced, we're gonna take half of it, and we're gonna go ahead and cool it and put it in a Ziploc bag with the fish, and we're gonna marinate it. I have marinated it overnight, which is fabulous if you can. If you can't do it overnight, and you only have a half hour, 45 minutes, go ahead and do that. It does add really nice flavor. So when it's this nice syrupy consistency, you're gonna go ahead and add about a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. Kind of cuts the sweetness of all the honey, and also the porter is sweet too. And about a teaspoon of hot sauce. I'm using a nice local hot sauce, Scoville, made here in Erie. And about a teaspoon of that, or to taste. And we're gonna go ahead and mix that in. So the porter and the honey have reduced. It's nice and syrupy, if you can see that. It's a little thicker than fresh maple syrup. That's what you want it to be. And this is going to be our marinated for the fish and the carrots. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I have taken the carrots out, and I put them in the colander here. And I'm going to go ahead and take half of the marinade, and I'm going to put the fresh fish fillets. I'm going to cool this down first. So I'm not going to do this on camera for you, but I'm going to cool it down, and I'm going to go ahead and put half of the marinade, which is approximately maybe 3/4 of a cup, in with the fish fillets in a Ziploc bag. And that's what I have done here. You can see the marinade has gotten a little bit thinner just because the juices from the fish come out, and it just makes it a little bit thinner, but it's been marinating for a couple hours now, about 6 hours. And I'm gonna take the carrots, and I'm gonna put them, and again, they've been part cooked, and I'm gonna go ahead and put them in a pan and get these ready to go. And I'm gonna take the other remainder of the of this syrup, of the porter and honey marinade, and I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the carrots, and right a couple minutes before we take the fish out of the oven, we're gonna turn this on and heat these carrots through, and it really makes a nice side dish with the fish. So, great. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this fish and put it on a sheet pan. Nice. I have lots of mouths to feed here today. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on a pan. Put it the nice side, skin side down. And I'm just going to drizzle a little olive oil and put some salt and pepper on it. So go ahead. It's got a nice rich brown color. Go ahead and put some salt and some pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. So the fish is done. It's only been about 8 minutes, but I can see it's nice and flaky. It was in a really hot oven. Again, the recipes are on cookhealthytoday.com, so check them out. We're gonna take it out of the oven. And we're gonna just, so you can see. Now, put foil on your cooking sheet and you'll clean up, it'll be a lot easier. So, I sauteed up some spinach with a little garlic and olive oil, and the carrots have been cooking, reheating nicely in the syrup. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the fish on the plate. Really nice. There we go. And I think I'll put another little piece on there too. And we'll go ahead and add the carrots and the spinach. Carrots, I'll put a lot more carrots on there. But this really is nice. Carrots are sweet to begin with, but to go ahead and add a little bit more of the sweetness from the porter and the honey is really delicious. And then I'm just gonna garnish. We'll get some green, get some nice veggies in there. This is actually a really simple dinner. Simple is what I like. And then go ahead, put some parsley on. Don't have to put the parsley, just dresses it up. And there you go. You have a nice dinner of a porter glazed codfish and some glazed carrots, and we have some spinach as a side. Hope you enjoy it.
Get your healthy living tips and recipes from cookhealthytoday.com.